training game, okay? So when it's a training game, what can we try, what can our objectives try and be if it's a training game? Instructions based on outcomes. So we look at it and we look at it as a thirds game, and we've spoken about can we play through for thirds, but actually we might be saying, see that? Yeah. Because what are the three ways that we might penetrate? Over, round, and through. They're basically our three ways, aren't they? And through. Now, if you're this player, if you're the red team, what are some of the challenges that you might think you would experience as a coach coaching this game? Okay. So he's isolated and we've got an uneven number. So we're playing out of balance. So we might not see as much of the ball. Now, if you actually look at this practice design as well, that's kind of illuminated a little bit more than I've put on the board, because when we look at the thirds, what's the additional challenge that this player's got? Thinner zone, isn't it? A smaller area. So where we've got a 2v2 and space, we've got a 2v1, 3v1 plus the goalkeeper and a reduced area to play in. So if we're looking at combination of strikers and we're looking in this reason, yeah. So in terms of the ball going and then being retained, that could be an issue, couldn't it? Who's done a thirds practice? Who's delivered a thirds practice? What are the challenges that you found when you've done a thirds practice?
When they're younger, they will stand at the front of the line rather than using the whole zone.
Yeah.
Just wait for that ball when it gets right close, but obviously as they get older, they understand it a bit more, and then it comes down to ability as well.
Yeah. So when you sevens and eights do it, it looks like sevens and eights doing it. Grassroots sevens and eights doing it. What could be an issue for this player? Pressure straight away. So not being able to have time. Brilliant. Brilliant. Yeah. Fantastic.
They get bored because or frustrated that I can't go over that line.
Yeah.
I can't see it. Why have I got to stay here? Yeah.
Fabulous. So we spoke about transitional playing through the thirds. Sometimes 2v2 might not make it out of the third. So then you start to get a whole load of people that are disengaged. And that's when, can I just borrow you for a second? What's your name? Matt. Brilliant. So that's when Matt, Quint, we've not done anything for 5 minutes, not seen a ball. So we'll have a chat. Then we'll have a disagreement because we've had a chat. And then I'm going to kick Matt, and Matt's going to kick me back. And then Matey Boy's going to get involved, and then the goalkeeper's going to flick my ear. So how can we make it relevant? Getting them to understand the relevance. What is the purpose? Why are we doing this? Do they know that though? We know why we're doing it, because we've sat on our lunch breaks, trawling through the web, thinking about going over the game on Saturday or Sunday, and we know why we're doing it. But do they know why we're doing it? Do they know that the thing that we've tasked them with on the Tuesday night is to help them? Because you've identified this. Do they even understand that they're not doing something that you've seen, that you've observed? It's really difficult to talk to a group of grassroots volunteers that give up all the time and kind of say, is your session worth behaving for? Because you're giving up time. And you think, well, you know, I'm a volunteer here, but this is where we are with things, isn't it? Is your session worth behaving for? Do the kids understand the relevance? Have you got their buy-in? Because you're a coach, but you're a salesperson as well. This is why we're doing it, and this is to help you. Later on in the session, when they've done something, do you relate it to the game? When they've got a specific player's name on the back of their shirt, you recognise that that's probably their favourite player. Or it's less letters, so it's a bit cheaper for the printer. I don't know. It's probably because it's their favourite player. And when they do that, can you relate it? Because that's brilliant. That's exactly what we're after. That's perfect. So that's just something to think about. So can we kind of make it relevant? So little things that we can look at there. Try and really focus on some of the positive stuff, because if you focus on the positive bits, kids will try and show you a little bit more positive stuff. When you've got this group, rather than me go, right, nobody's doing anything until you can sort yourself out. Love that. That's fantastic. That's really good. And hopefully, by modelling like what is real good behaviour for me, this is what I really like, this is what I'm into, you might start copying that. That's my dream anyway. It might just be completely off the rails, mightn't it? But my dream is that you'll kind of go, actually, that's getting more attention than me prattling about.
The thing is, I think the FA's traditional coaching model has been stop, stand still, coach mistake.
Yeah.
And it always has been stop, stand still, look where you are.
Do you know, I'm just going to challenge you there, Mark, because when you say it always has been,
traditionally,
I'd say yes.
But I think the youth award changed it, and the modelling.
Brilliant, yeah.
That's what changed it, certainly when I've been through the programme. But the traditional FA coaching, I should say, has always been stop, stand still, look for the mistake, coach for mistakes, or try and coach what you're trying to put into your session, so you're not looking for those positive things.
Yeah, really useful, really useful. I think the other thing is that what we've not always been great at is coaching the bits off the ball. So certainly for some of the more novice coaches, I've spoken about it quite a bit with the guys, and apologies if you're hearing this for the second time. It might be a refresher for some. Was when we used to do the dual assessments, for example, if I just stood just a little bit behind and to the side of some of the coaches that were working, I would see this, and they're following the ball, but they're not observing the session. And it's a collaborative game, so what goes on over there, there's an impact here. And that's something that we've not been very good at as well, to recognise those whole pictures, because we're so interested in just the ball, just the here and now. We've not been great at that side of it, I don't think. Okay. So, yeah, no, 100% you can. But this particularly lends itself to out of possession sessions, when you've got these channels, these channel lanes. This is really useful. So if the ball's out here, what we're looking at is middle and ball, and these are just reference lines for us. That's really useful. It could just be that you're doing a dribbling practice with it. Who's got working with real little is? Yeah, under fives. So you do your dribbling session, but all you've got is some flat discs or some cones. And actually what you're looking for them to do is more running with the ball than dribbling, but they're looking for space as well and getting that practice of getting their heads up. So actually, can they recognise space to move into? And then when you stop the session, if we've got bodies in here, bodies there, bodies there, bodies there, or you might have, to begin with, all of them in one quarter. Yeah. Safe zones or technical zones you can use as well. Sometimes with safe zones, and it's really good with the young, sometimes with safe zones, is that people kind of go, that's safe. Yeah, so if you put a time limit on it, really, really good, because then we get what we're looking for, the technical outcomes that we're looking for. So that's a little bit. If you've got an idea in your head what the part whole is, what it is that you're looking to achieve, which hopefully that you have, is that you can identify on 2, 3, 4 occasions, depending on the length of your session and how old your kids are, the thing that it is that you want to then take that little break in the middle, that little sandwich filling, what that's going to be. So that you can identify in the first part of the game, here are the things that we're going to look to work on. And then your technical practice, for want of a better term, your technical practice, which is the sandwich filling, is relevant to what it is that your outcome's going to be. Then you go into the game and you say, wow. So that's the things that we identified at the start. This is the little sandwich filling that we had. And at the end, you're doing that. You're now putting that into play. So do you remember when we did that bit in the middle and how we kind of spoke about that? And now we're starting to see it in the game. So that when you do maybe your other way, your what I would call a tripartite session, which is normally you warm up, your technical practice, your game at the end. When you do that technical practice, that you're actually kind of saying, remember a week or so ago when we did that and we saw that in the game, in the training game. We're doing that now, and this is why, because in the game at the end we want you to be doing this. Yeah? Does that make sense? We had another one in there, didn't we, about the floating player, and I'm not sure if I asked the question, but it was in my head to ask it. How do you choose your floating player?
Depends what you need, but different situations. They need confidence or need to be built up or to do different things. Depends.
Cool.
Depends how you assess your team. You know your team better than anyone.
Yeah.
And that's how you pick them.
Yeah.
Confidence building.
You know your team. What does the team consist of?
Different players, different characters, different personalities.
People. Young people. So you're dead right. You know them better and what they need at that particular time. And I think sometimes that's really interesting what you said again around how do we choose our floating players? Because for me, when I've been out and watched grassroots coaches working, it tends to be your best player will get the floating role. There's a problem with that. Because if you want to develop somebody,
We'll sometimes choose the guy who drifts in the game.
yeah.
So by giving him the floater, he can't drift, he can't hide, because he's main focus.
So they've got to be focused all the time. They can't, yeah.
Good, so his control's got to be better.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So again, you're managing behaviours, aren't you? Because you've recognised that we're not talking about extreme behaviours and difficult behaviours. We're talking about somebody who's drifting.
Yeah.
But in terms of that sort of intensity in your practice session and creating an environment, that's really useful if you can get that kid who's prone to drifting and losing concentration really focused.
No hiding place.
Yeah, that might be really helpful for them, mightn't it? It might be overwhelming for them, but unless you do it
Yeah, you can swap it.
and then observe it and see, is it working?